Thank you, Santa Barbara, for coming out. I like to pace while I talk, so. I saw a cartoon, or I saw something today. It says, if you allow the government to break the law because of an emergency, they will always create an emergency to break the law. So last week I saw a cartoon. There were two birds on a branch, and one of the birds had a parachute on and said to the other one, "Have you gotten your parachute yet?" And the other one said, "I'm getting mine today, I'm so excited." Okay? Hold that thought, birds with parachutes. I'll come back to that later. People ask me if I'm getting the vaccine, if I've gotten the vaccine, and I say, my medical decisions are private and personal. I don't discuss them. But besides telling them to mind their own business, sometimes I'll say, if you believe your vaccine protects you, then you don't need to worry about what anyone else is doing. You don't need to avoid anyone, no need for a vaccine passport. You should be bulletproof. And if you don't believe your vaccine protects you, then why are you taking it and pushing it on others? What is so concerning about this pandemic is that it's being driven by dogma and not data. Supervisor Hart says, the masks have saved lives. I'm sorry, Greg, but dogma just doesn't cut it anymore. You have no studies to back that up. Before this pandemic, there was 14 randomized controlled trials on the effectiveness of masks to stop respiratory viruses. And to quote the CDC, they produced no substantial effect, which means they don't work. So, Greg, it's not that they worked in Santa Barbara and nowhere else. You know, that's dogma, that's not data. Not going to cut it anymore. It's been a year into a 2-week lockdown. So what does the data show? There's no data to support wearing masks. They don't stop viruses. The holes are 1,000 times bigger than the size of a virus. Okay? The data do not support asymptomatic spread. To my knowledge, there's never been a single case of somebody with no symptoms that got somebody else sick with COVID. That's just not true. Maybe it happened somewhere, sometime to one person, but it's certainly not driving this pandemic. Okay? There's no data to support lockdowns. We've seen it in many countries. There's no data to support closing schools, that it protects the children. Okay? There's a lot of unnecessary fear and misconception around viruses. We have 380 trillion viruses in our body. You think your immune system is confused by how to deal with a virus? What do viruses do? They provide a software update to your DNA. Okay? So the viruses and the toxins in our food and in our air are different now than they were 10 years ago or 50 years ago. Viruses help update your system so you can survive in the world. 50% of our DNA has viral origins. 7% has retroviral origins. We have a symbiotic relationship with viruses. They're not boogeymen. Okay? We need to talk science. We need to talk data. Enough of these talking heads with an agenda. We have 11 organ systems. The cardiovascular system carries oxygen to our cells and removes waste products. The digestive system extracts nutrients for energy and to repair our body. The nervous system controls every other system in our body. And the immune system keeps us safe in a world filled with bacteria and viruses. Do you think we need to inject billions of spike proteins into our blood to teach our immune system how to deal with a coronavirus that's been on this planet for millions of years? Why do you think 99.9996% of all children survive COVID? You think maybe it's because their immune system knows how to do its job? Okay, so here comes the punchline to that cartoon. You ready? It's not that funny, but here goes. We need this vaccine like a bird needs a parachute. When I was about 13, I'm going to tell you a story. When I was 13, my grandmother got cancer. They told her she had 6 months to live, but if she got a $150,000 bone marrow transplant in 1980, that was a lot of money, she had a 10% chance of beating it. She decided to go to Mexico to the Gerson Institute, where she did a total detox and had nutrition that strengthened her immune system. And 7 months later, she was cancer-free. And at 13, I naively asked her, were her doctors interested to know what she had done to get well? And you know the answer to that. I don't know what I was thinking, like they were going to suddenly change the way they treat cancer in their hospital or something, but I suppose I expected they'd have some degree of intellectual curiosity, but not so much. She was no longer of any interest to them. She was no longer in the market for their products and services. She was no longer a potential customer. So here's the point of this talk. What do you think goes on in the executive boardroom meetings at these medical and pharmaceutical companies? Do you think they sit around and talk about how to make the world a healthier place? Or do you think they sit around talking about how to sell more products and services? Yeah, that's another, I could talk for 2 hours here. If they actually got people healthy, they'd be losing business. There's a built-in conflict of interest. So how do they sell more products and services? 2 ways. One is by keeping or making people sick by treating only their symptoms, using toxic drugs, and ignoring the cause of their problems. That guarantees nobody actually gets healthy and they never lose customers. The second way they build their business is coming up with products that can be sold to healthy people. Now we're talking about vaccines. So they've devised a plan not only to sell products, a vaccine to every man, woman, and child on this planet, but to con the governments and the media into mandating it. That's brilliant. It's the goal of every business to sell more products and services. You're not a person to these companies, you're a commodity. You see chickens and cows as commodities. That's how pharma sees you. Why do you think they give the flu shot for free? You think it's their good deed for the year? They know the research. They know that the toxins in that shot will weaken your immune system and make it more likely that you'll develop an illness in the next 12 months. They're evil, but they're not stupid. That's their business model. It's not personal. Pfizer's on track to make $26 billion this year and is telling us that we need a booster every year. Does anybody see a little conflict of interest here? Does anybody see something wrong here? This is medical tyranny. And we are here to tell the truth, to slay this Goliath, and take back our God-given rights to our own bodies and those of our children. Thank you.